subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Namaste, konnichiwa. Welcome to the Nupur show. Let's talk business. Presented by Hail Tokyo and Hail India. And today we are going to tell you an amazing story of Paul Dupuis. And he is MD and CEO of Randstad India. He started his life from park bench and he has become a CEO today. Let's hear what he says. So with business applause, let's welcome Paul. Paul, namaste, konnichiwa. Welcome to the Nupur show. Let's talk business.
Sounds great. Namaste, konnichiwa, Nupur from Bangalore.
Yes, sounds really great. You lived in Japan, now you're in India, so both the greetings you know.
Absolutely. I use both even to this day. I have lots of Japanese friends, of course. And of course, living in India, I say namaste, or depending on the location, namoskar, or even kemcho majama, vanakam, namaskara, and so on. Yeah.
Wow, you have learned a lot of greetings. Yeah, exactly. That's really, you know India really well, I guess.
I've been very lucky over the past 4 years. You know, we have offices across the country, 75 offices, in fact. So I've traveled the four corners of India, from Ladakh all the way down south, to this part of India.
Wonderful. So, from Canada to Japan, how did it happen in your life?
Well, you know, even today, 31 years later, I still think about that. 1990, why did I get on the plane and go to Japan? So I was growing up in Canada. I was actually quite into the martial arts. I grew up in Windsor, Ontario, which is south of Toronto, right on the border across from Detroit. And you know, I through university, to pay my tuition, I worked as a welder at Chrysler on the assembly line. And I saved up my money, and I was kind of dreaming of going to Asia. So back in those days, pre-internet, you know, the only source of information was the library. So I went to the library. I got a book called The Lonely Planet Travel Guide. And I pulled out a book on Japan, and I was flipping through it, and I found this city called Osaka. I'd never heard of it. And I just remember the photo of Shinsaibashi Dotonbori Bridge in Osaka. And it said that people in Osaka love to eat, they love to laugh, they love their sports, and they speak their mind. And I thought, wow, it's like my hometown. I got to go there. So I saved up my money, and I went to Osaka. And I arrived September 5th, 1990. I was going to stay 6 months, and I fell in love with Japan and ended up staying in and out, almost 25 years. Yeah.
25 years. It's a long time.
Yeah. Well, you've been in Japan a long time too, Nupur. You know how Japan can kind of get into your blood, into your soul. So I really, I really fell in love with Japan. I learned Japanese by doing karate, and then that became quite helpful for me as I navigated my career in Japan as well.
So in 25 years, what did you learn from Japan?
Wow, hard to summarize 25 years. But if I have to kind of, one thing, you know, stepping out of your comfort zone, leaving my comfortable world of Canada that I knew, understood, going to a completely different world where I knew nobody, didn't speak the language. The first thing I learned was the importance of being open-minded to new ideas, new ways of living, culture, food, and so on. So that's one. The world is a big place. That's one thing I learned. I think the other thing I learned is, you know, in Japan, there's always a long-term view on everything. Everything you do, whether it's in business and beyond, it's always about the long-term commitment. Relationships take a long time, but once you build them, they last forever. The focus on long-term is something I learned, and that's really helped me in my own, let's say, my own leadership journey. And I think the final thing would be the focus on quality. The focus on quality, meticulous focus on quality, and even I would say Kaizen is something that has helped me a lot in my journey as a leader.
So Japan and India. So you had experience in Japan, working in Japan. Now you're working in India. What did you like to suggest to those people, those Indians who really want to work or do business with Japanese?
Well, first of all, there is already quite a community, as you know well, Nupur, of people in India that do business with Japan and vice versa, Japanese who do business with India. The relationship between the two countries, I discovered, is quite strong and has a long history. Now, for Indians who want to do business with Japan, it's important to understand what I talked about earlier, that Japan is always about the long-term investment, not just in money, but in relationships, the commitment to the long-term relationship. And so this is something that I think people in India need to understand. And one of the things that surprised me about India, in a positive way, is that the pace of change in India is faster than anywhere else in the world. And also the agility of people in India is also amazing compared to most countries. Japan is about kind of slow and steady, long term. India is about let's go, let's run, let's take advantage of the moment. And there's this wonderful thing in India that everybody knows called Jugad, right? And Jugad is simply defined is about creativity, ingenuity, finding a way to get things done using the things that you have in front of you. I really love it. In fact, that spirit is incredible. It's one of the things that makes India quite unique. At the same time, in Japan, you have this idea of Kaizen, which is meticulous focus on quality and process. Now, those two things in some ways are quite opposite, but when you bring them together, what a combination. I would say to folks in India that want to do business with Japan, understand that Jugad can work when combined with Kaizen. Focus on the long term, focus on the quality, focus on the relationship. And one really important lesson that I learned in Japan is when you make a promise, you keep it. So it's so important to honor the promise. And if you do that consistently, the relationship gets stronger and more business will come your way.
Wonderful. So this is Jugaad and Kaizen. If we can combine these two things, it can become business bomb.
Magical combination, a business bomb. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, magical combination. So now we would like to know about your book, which you released just. So what is, if you can just tell us what is inside the book to our viewers?
Sure. I've actually got there's two versions. This is the India version. It's called The Rule of Five, published this one. Yeah, there's a global version called the E5 movement. The India version's got some extra tidbits, some extra stories from my journey in India. But I wrote this book while living in India here, in Bangalore, and it's based on my leadership journey, not only as a business leader, but also in other arenas. For example, I'm an ice hockey player. I grew up playing ice hockey in Canada, so I've been both a player as well as a captain of my team and a coach and so on. I've been a volunteer with various MPOs. I've been the chairman of an MPO called Hope International, which is quite active actually in Japan and around the world. And this book is really filled with stories from my leadership journey. I've observed leaders around the world in my journey. I've studied leaders over history, and I started to discover a kind of a pattern of effective leadership, game-changing leadership. And actually, I discovered that some of these qualities are timeless and borderless. It doesn't matter the culture or even the era or the arena where you operate. And so I wrote this book, and it's kind of a conversation. And in fact, I just finished recording the audiobook right here at a studio in Bangalore. It's going to be released in the next couple of weeks.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
So since you're talking about leadership, actually a young man is coming from Canada to Osaka and falling in love with Japan. And from there, today who you are, like how was the journey, how it happened, if you can just tell us, because there are many startup who are having their startup, they really want to reach where you reached. If you can give a little bit, just journey of your that from nothing to everything, so they'll be very much benefited.
Well, it's a great question. Tough to summarize 31 years, but I'll give you the short kind of version. I started, I would say, humble beginnings. I mean, I started my journey in Asia, in Osaka, sleeping on a park bench. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a job. I had very little money. I had about 25,000 yen in my pocket. It's about 17,000 rupees. And I started sleeping on a park bench with my backpack. That's how the adventure began. But that guy who got on the plane when I was 22 years old in 1990, I feel like I'm still the same guy. If you were to look at the playlist back then, we had Walkman, the cassette tape. I had my headphones. That playlist is full of 1980s rock music. And if you look at my playlist today on my iPhone, it's 1980s rock music. So actually, I'm listening to the same music. I think deep inside, I'm the same person. And I think that's important. You need to stay true to who you are. But along the way, I had a lot of experiences. One of the things I learned, and actually before going to Japan in 1990, I was in the Canadian Reserves, or the militia, the army. And I really learned the importance of being mission focused. It's one of the things you learn in the military, right? You have a mission, and the parameters are defined, and then you focus on that mission and you accomplish the mission. So I've always been a very mission-centric guy. I don't think so much about 10 years, 15 years from now. I've never thought like that. I always think, okay, what is here and now? What is my mission? What's my purpose? And I'm going to work hard to accomplish it. So that's one thing that's guided me through the whole journey. That's been kind of consistent throughout. I focus on my mission, be the best I can be at it. That's one. Second one is learning from the experience. Leaving your comfort zone and going somewhere brand new means you have to be humble. You need to be able to fall down and get back up sometimes. You need to be embarrassed, as often happens when you first arrive in Japan. You break all the cultural rules, but the ability to laugh at yourself is very important along the way, but also learn from every experience and get stronger as you go. So I kind of look at my journey as like every time a new experience comes, I put on a new muscle, and those muscles come with me, and they help me in the future. So yeah, I feel like I'm the same guy, although I have a bit more wisdom, I think, over the past 31 years. At the core, I'm still the same person. I have the same values. And I think the final point is enjoy the journey. It's not about the destination. And I know it's a cliche, but it really is about the journey. That's life. In the end, it's always about the journey. It's not about the destination. So enjoy the moment, enjoy the journey.
Wonderfully summarized, actually. So this is, I think, what I can take the focus. The focus actually, without planning for long term, what you are doing, that is, you have to focus there.
Yeah.
So since you are in India, so I would like to say our Gita says like you just keep doing your karma. You don't have to think about the result. I think that is the same thing you did.
Yeah, agreed. I also learned that in India as well. Every morning we see puja all over around my neighborhood, and even in our home. My car, for example, we do our annual puja, big ceremony. For those of you that don't know what puja is, it's you go to the Hindu temple and they put flowers all over the car, and the Hindu priest comes around with incense around the car, and then I take a big coconut and I smash it on the ground, and then I run over the limes with my car. And anyway, it's a wonderful blessing for safety. It's like omomori in Japan, I guess, where you put the luck charm.
Yes, omomori in Japan.
Your puja ceremony for anything that's really important, and moving into a new home or whatever it is. So I see that it's such an important part of daily life. Doing your morning puja, or even a meditation, or the morning exercises. I really believe that, back to that journey story, it's important to have a healthy cadence in everything you do. And I know, Nupur, you're quite into this as well, right? I mean, a healthy body, a healthy mind leads to a healthy life. It's so important to find that healthy cadence in everything you do, the way you think, the way you behave, the way you treat your body and your mind.
Wonderful. So for the startup guys, I would like to ask that how did you handle the stress? Because the guy came from Canada, 22 years old, and today you are. So definitely you had to face a lot of problems in your life, definitely. But how did you handle the stress?
Oh yeah, well, let's start with one key assumption. Life is stressful. Let's accept it. Let's embrace it. Let's understand that there's good stress and bad stress. Now, there are controllables and uncontrollables. I think it's really important that we control the controllables in our life, right? So you control the control. The things you can control, you control. The things you can't control, you respond. Okay? And I think that's a key way to handle stress. Yeah, I mean, there are ups and downs. I have to tell you, I have been an entrepreneur. I think I still am an entrepreneur, although now I'm an intrapreneur, because I'm the CEO of a huge organization here in India. 62,000 people, 75 offices in the country. But at the same time, I'm given the freedom by my company to move like an entrepreneur. And that's why I love working at Randstad. But prior to that, I was an entrepreneur. I started my own company in Japan and went through all the challenges you go through from, no money in the bank, how am I going to generate revenue? Is this sustainable? All those things, the ups and downs, the sleepless nights. I've been through all that. But I think, stress can be a good thing and a bad thing. We've seen it, especially in the past 1 year with COVID. It's important, again, what I said earlier, control the controllables. What we can't control, we need to respond, but respond in a way that's productive and positive. I think also about, one day at a time, huh? One day at a time. Every day is a new opportunity to take one step forward. So yeah, hey, it is. Let's begin with the assumption. It's stressful to be alive. It's stressful to be an entrepreneur, but the reward that can come from this journey is absolutely awesome.
It takes your all stress away. The reward.
You look back and you say, wow. And I remember that when I arrived in India 4 years ago, I left the comfort zone of Japan. I knew Japan very well. I speak Japanese. When you're somewhere for a long time, you start to lose blind spots. It's pretty hard to kind of, let's say, be fooled. And then I arrived in India. All I had was blind spots. I mean, I was like sheep to the wolves. And I arrived right after demonetization was announced. So I arrived from Japan, where I could walk up to any ATM and get my yen out. And then I arrived in India, and there was no cash in India because demonetization was announced. And as you know, lines all around the corner, around the block at ATMs, and everybody wanted cash and they couldn't get it. And so my first word I learned in India was demonetization. Didn't even know what the word meant before I arrived in India. And then from there, of course, lots of things happened along the way. But that spirit of control the controllables, respond to the uncontrollables in a positive way. Agility is an important muscle for all startup people, entrepreneurs especially, to have the ability to pivot, the ability, to make decisions on the run. I think is very important.
Exactly. So I think, I find it really wonderful and very helpful for all the people, especially Japanese and Indians, because you are not from either Japan nor India. You're from Canada, from third country, and you can guide both the countries how to deal with Indians and how to deal with Japanese. So here, especially the Indian startup, as you know, that India is booming. The startup is really, people are really starting their new businesses, and they're looking for the fund, they're looking for the investor, and they're in Japan. So how they should move, how they should approach, if you can guide them a little bit.
Well, you're absolutely right. In Bangalore is kind of the venture capital / startup capital of India. I think in many ways there's so many companies, and I'm involved in that community here. What a wonderful group of not only young entrepreneurs, because it's not about age, it's about the spirit of let's try, right? So I think if you think about this in terms of taking it to the world, it's one thing to start something up in your neighborhood and build it to a scale in your neighborhood, in your comfort zone. But it's another thing to take it across borders and to take it to a place like Japan. Now, I think there are huge opportunities for Indian entrepreneurs in Japan. But then there are also realities that you have to confront as an entrepreneur, looking at going across borders. Part of these will be cultural differences. If you talk about technology, for example, the way it's embraced, the way it's used, and so on. In Japan, we know that privacy is a big issue. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're doing something in technology in India, one of the first things you need to realize is that you're going to have to navigate through the privacy laws and the privacy issues, but also the behaviors. Japan is about avatars. It's a land of, avatars and pseudo names and so on, tag names. So again, understanding these nuances of the culture are very important. Now, as far as funding goes, it goes back to my earlier conversation. It's always about relationships. You can look at Masayoshi Son and what SoftBank has done in India. And, you pick up the Economic Times or the Times of India every day, just about every day, there's an article about SoftBank and Masayoshi Son investing in a company in India. It's incredible. But when he invests, it's less on the model, the business model, it's more on the person. And he's commented on that many times. And he's had some successes and some famous stories where not so successful, right? But it's always about the person. He invests in the person. I would say the long-term investors that I know from Japan, Focus first on the person, then on the business proposition. So that relationship building is so important. And relationships are generally built face to face, especially when it comes to Japan. Now in COVID, it's challenging, but I would repeat the message. You need to build relationships. Japan is a lot about connections. If someone trusts me and I introduce my trusted friend or partner to someone, then they become part of the circle. So earning the trust by being honest, by being transparent, by having good values, then leads to good relationships, and that leads to, for example, investment.
Wonderful. I'm sure that all the entrepreneurs are looking for, fund and investment, they will be very successful. And Paul, I heard some news. I don't know whether it is rumor or real, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, there's some really big news, Nupur. I'm talking to you at a very exciting time. So I'm going to announce something that I haven't told anyone yet publicly. I'm going to do it right here on your show with you, Nupur.
Thank you.
After 4 amazing years in incredible India, I will be moving on to my next challenge, which is in fact in Japan as CEO and chairman of Randstad Japan.
Wow.
So we're getting ready to wrap up here in India, just starting the transition. And this has literally just been announced, and there'll be press releases to follow in the next few days. But I will be relocating back to Tokyo to become the head of Randstad Japan, one of our fastest growing businesses in the world of Randstad. So it's very exciting, big challenge, but also back to a place that I'm somewhat familiar with. So it's going to be an exciting journey.
Congratulations. It's a very big news, and huge congratulations to you. Really.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
And how do you feel? Are you excited to come back to Japan? Definitely, you're going to be the head of the company. That is different. That is excitement, and the responsibilities are different. But like, are you excited to be back to Japan?
Yeah, my wife is from Japan. My boys were born there. I have such a strong connection to Japan. I have so many friends there. My community is there as well. And now I must say, after living in India for several years, I've come to discover there's quite an Indian community in Japan. So I'm really excited to go back to Japan and get involved with the Indian community as well in Japan. So I've got lots of kurtas that I'm going to be bringing back with me. Looking forward to Diwali parties and all the good stuff that happens with the Indian community in Japan. But I'm really excited about taking my learnings from India and bringing them back to Japan, just as I brought my learnings from Japan to India 4 years ago. I think, so many things I've learned here that I think we can apply in our organization in Japan. So, it's kind of a mixed feelings right now. I have fallen in love with India. And I've built so many relationships here and memories, and I'm going to miss a lot of things about India. At the same time, I'm going to Japan, which is, in a way, was my second home for a long time. So, yeah, I'm sad on one hand leaving India. On the other hand, I'm really excited about becoming the captain of the ship in Japan.
Wonderful, and really congratulations for the new role. And I'm sure you're going to play it very well. So welcome back to Japan, and we'll be waiting to welcome you.
Can't wait to see you face to face. Really excited to get back.
Thank you, thank you. And through this interview, I'm sure that all the people who are watching from Japan and India, they will be very much benefited, because, as I said, you're from the third country, and you lived in Japan and you lived in India, so you can judge the both culture and how to do the business with both culture. So thank you, Paul. Thank you so much, and we look forward to you have on this show again and again.
Thank you, Nupur, and again, my compliments to you for the wonderful conversations that you have on this show. I tune in regularly. I really enjoy it. So please keep it up, and look forward to seeing you face to face. And everybody who's watching, I wish you all the best. Stay safe. Namaste. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Namaste. Arigatou gozaimasu.
So everyone, that was an amazing story of Paul, and I'm sure now you know the secrets of becoming a CEO. Tomorrow I have another show, the Nupur Show, with another amazing guest. I'll see you around. And by the way, if you have questions for Paul or me, do write to us. We'll be back with Paul again with answers of those questions. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, do take care of yourself. Do love yourself too. Stay tuned.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.